Good morning. Today I just wanted to review this book, Rescuing the Bible from Fundamentalism by Bishop John Shelby Spong. He's an Episcopal bishop when he lived. The book is written in 1991, or published in 1991, which is approximately 10 years before my own journey started. It started 20 years ago, and I kind of wished today that I had read it back then, but it may not have had any impact on me, so it's probably coming at the right time. Even though my journey started 20 years ago, I don't think that I have arrived yet, but I can see now the end is near. I have been aware of that for the past 2 years or so, since I read Divided by Faith, in response to a friend of mine who questioned how we treat our brothers and sisters of other races in the wake of some police shootings of unarmed people about 3 years ago or so. And we read a number of books together, and Divided by Faith was one of them, and that one really opened my eyes to how divided our church really is. And I think this book, the ideas that are in it are revolutionary even today, but it must have been extremely revolutionary and provocative in the time when it was written 30 years ago. We have already reviewed this book, Jesus for the Non-Religious, by the same author. That one is written in about 2007, and the ideas that he's beginning here have developed somewhat, and there's some new material added onto it as well. But it's not just a copy and paste. You can tell that he's been working on it in the meantime. I think his purpose for writing this book is to try to steer us away from the idea that the Bible can be used to promote hate. And definitely some people have been trying to justify slavery based on the Bible. Even today, people are bashing gays and lesbians with the same methods. So he's trying to free Jesus from Scripture. A lot of people today even have been viewing Scripture as history, and he's showing that it's not. It's more like literature. It says in the Jesus for the Non-Religious, he has a chapter on how humankind has a tendency to seek God. We're curious. We want to know where we came from and where we're going. And the earliest indications of religion are burial ceremonies that people have had from ancient times. And religion has developed over time as people have passed down rituals and religion over generations. And he talks about how certain scriptures were incorporated as scripture and others were not. I think because my journey began with a question about what do I believe, and that took a long time to answer that question. And some people have pointed me in the right direction along the way. And just like the book I was talking about before, Divided by Faith, has clarified a bunch of things for me. This one, in the conclusion, who is God, he determines that for us. And he sees that he sees God through Jesus. So, and that is probably one of the reasons he wrote the other book, to find out who is Jesus really, peeling away all the mythology and all the lies and all the inventions that the writers have piled on top of him. He concludes that God is love, and I think that is. I looked in the biography, and he's mentioning a fellow named Paul Tillich, and we already met him in my other book study on Christian anarchism. That love, justice without love is not justice, and they have the same conclusion that humankind is not static. The world is not static. It changes. So when people wrote about God and Jesus in ancient times, that doesn't really do a whole lot for us today. And that is, I think, something that the Barna Group, Kinnaman, is writing a book called You Lost Me. And young generations today reject Christianity because of the hate that's involved in it, and because of the language that's being used. And Bishop Spong talks about that in this book, that the language that we use in the church does not reflect. It's ancient language, and we need to invent a new language that more accurately describes Jesus of today, in today's language. So, because what we have repels the young people rather than attracts them. So, because the world changes, we change. We cannot see Jesus the way he was seen 2,000 years ago. And that is, I think, my biggest takeaway from this book, and I wish I had read it earlier, but yeah, it's I'm sure you can find it in a used bookstore somewhere for next to nothing. It's a very, if you're open to new ideas, then this is a very good book to start with. Yeah, and thank you for listening today. And we'll be back tomorrow with another chapter in the Christian Anarchism study.